any sporting event.
Now in Greensboro, we always hawk them on the side, baby. Go ahead.
Now we are live for our last show of the season.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting. We got to say goodbye to Kenzie. We got to get Sam beat. We can't let Sam take a winning streak into the off season.
No.
So Gary, no pressure.
Oh, I'm Sam's opponent.
Oh,
Yeah.
Don't be like.
Look at him. He knew it.
He knew it. No pressure.
Smart.
You're good.
We're going to reveal the
Awesome.
team with Chris and the Sweet 16 with Chris and Grice, and we're going to get started right after this. All right, we're back with another episode of Preps. We got Chelsea. You with us today?
Yeah.
We got to get that Wi-Fi working in Wake County.
No, we're getting our house remodeled, so the Wi-Fi router got moved around, so I had to reset that.
Chris went through some of that earlier this year with his Wi-Fi. Gary sent me some really cool kind of questions earlier today, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts about it. I think the first thing he asked me was about this COVID restrictions being lifted throughout the country, including in football stadiums. And the Panthers, we saw yesterday, are going to allow, a full stadium. There's no temperature checks. There's no proof of vaccination. You can just come in and go. The southern part of the country seems to be behind other regions in terms of getting the vaccinations. Why do you guys think that's the case? And Dan, we'll start with you.
Well, I think that.
Oops.
I think that has to do with the conservative nature, the conservative population that exists in the South, and it seems that population is against vaccinations. Not all, but a large number of them. So I think that doesn't play well for us in the South in having, let's say, some kind of herd immunity. So that's why I think it is.
Gary. Oops, I keep hitting the wrong button.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines as Dale. The South has a history, we know, of being a little rebellious, anti-government, not anti-government, but anti-big government. And it's looked at as vaccination is a government program, and even the Southern politicians, even though most of them have probably had the vaccination, they haven't gone out of their way to persuade their constituents to take the vaccination. It's a freedom or a liberty thing with them as opposed to a health issue.
Yeah. Chelsea, from a student's perspective, what do you think there about why we're not getting vaccinated?
I think in my age group, it's a lot of 50-50. People are hearing from what their parents have to say. But at the same time, I know a lot of people, just being teenagers, everyone just wants to get back to, how it was pre-COVID. So I know a lot of people that are, if getting my vaccination is what brings it back to normal life, then all for it. But some people, whether it comes from like a political idea in a family, they're against it. But I know especially in the South, it can be like that.
Yeah. All right. Sam wants to say something. I have a feeling I know what he's going to say, but go ahead and tell me about being vegan or something and make sure.
We don't need to be vaccinated. The virus can't affect vegetarian. That's what it is. I mean, it's pretty simple, but not.
He really believes that, yo.
Yeah, daggone warrior blood. Yeah, warrior blood. That's
right.
Literally lives inside of me, and then virus. Not even worried about it. I walk around the virus. Touch the virus, breathe the virus, don't matter.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not a bad statement to be making.
Have you ever heard of karma?
It doesn't matter, man. It's called confidence, brother. Don't lack any of that. Maybe it gets me in trouble too much.
All right,
Yeah, I mean, I think, being in the South, always, joking, I remember hearing, growing up, Southern whites and Southern blacks have kind of our kindred spirits in a lot of ways. You see a lot of similarities with the distrust, as has been stated, of bigger governments. You see how, kind of the confidence and familiarity with, kind of your local, relationships with your friends and family. And I think with this virus, unfortunately, you've seen kind of some of the betrayal of that. I know I've seen it even within my own family, where the people you may trust may have done something a little untrustworthy, which has introduced the virus into your ecosystem. But I think you still, with Southern folks, have a reluctance to worry about that, and that need in enabling to get back to normal life. I mean, especially being more spread out down here than in northern, more city, more heavily concentrated areas. People are really eager to get back to going to work, to going places which they go to going to places of worship, which mean more to them during a week-to-week basis.
Absolutely. Gary, do you anticipate any interesting scenarios once we get to the fall and football comes back?
I'm interested to see how the state universities respond to this. Duke and Wake Forest have already said no vaccine, no admittance. I mean, you take your classes online, but you're not coming on campus without that vaccine. The California state school system has said the same thing as far as colleges. And I think Virginia is the first state school in the ACC that, issued that mandate. Students that don't have the vaccine cannot take classes on campus.
Do you think that's going to apply to fans, though? When fans try to go to Chapel, like when you try to go to Chapel Hill first Saturday in August, or whatever that Saturday is in August, to go watch them play, you got to show a vaccine passport or a card or something?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because it's outside. But I think these universities are going to do. They've been hit hard financially, and it's because of COVID. Everybody's been hit hard financially, so I think they're going to make sure school stays open. Athletic competition continues, because we know that brings in a lot of revenue. Yeah. And so if that means mandating a vaccine, I would not be surprised to hear about that happening very soon. North Carolina usually follows Virginia. We're kind of a purple state, red legislature, blue executive, and I'm just thinking that sooner or later they're going to say, "Hey, you got to have the vaccine." I don't think it'll go down to the public school level, but I do think a lot more universities are going to say, "Hey, we can't afford to lose out on this revenue because we got to shut down on quarantine." So if you want, they're not going to deny somebody admission as far as taking courses, but as far as taking courses on campus, I think we're getting ready to see that kind of snowball.
You think it happens in high school?
No, I don't think it happens in high school.
No way.
What would happen if they told you guys had to have a vaccine to come to school?
I think right now there would be a lot of people that wouldn't be able to go to school. I mean, there's so many people in public school. And also, I think you have to have a parent signature, right?
Probably.
Yeah, some parents don't enforce it, Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing though to watch as we come back in the fall.
I can see that happening at private schools in high school. But I don't see it in public schools. Okay.
Grice, should FCA football, especially the black colleges, move to the spring for TV money and exposure and stay away from the fall where they can't get any TV money and exposure?
That should be FCS first off. FCA is Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But FCS football should definitely stay in the fall.
Let me fix that. Okay.
I got to make sure my schools are getting their just due.
My bad.
Oh, of course. Hey, I'll always gladly correct you respectfully. But yeah, I think they should stay in the fall. I think my big worry is, the exposure that the combine and things like that would provide to a lot of these kids. They don't get those opportunities because they're playing in the spring. You talk about these, that pre-draft process being so vital for them finding out, these kids who really don't have as much of that exposure. That to me is more important than them playing football by themselves. I think you have enough avenues where, now you have ESPN3. You're starting to see with the HBCU conferences are pretty much going away. I mean, the MEAC really is on life support right now. So you have these schools going into bigger conferences that have bigger TV deals. So I think the need for them to have their own stage, I think is being, is lessened, going forward. So, you combine the TV exposure and being able to stream everything with that ability of these conferences going into other conferences with bigger schools and more name recognition. I think that's a great combo for them to continue to grow and expand, and they don't need the spring.
Chelsea, are kids going to watch football in the spring if there was football in the spring?
Probably not.
Yeah.
We know football is a fall sport.
That's kind of how I feel. Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a hard time. We went through football here in the spring, and
Yes.
while it was great to see football, it just didn't feel right. And football is a fall sport, and it's especially Grice hit the.
I keep running down.
So Grice hit the nail on the head because there are so many opportunities right now to get exposure through streaming and ESPN expanding the number of channels. And I'm going to turn a light on in a minute. So I don't think that's as big of an issue. And quite honestly, if they went to the spring, they might lose viewership as a result because people are going to be more interested maybe in watching baseball or something else.
Yeah. Gary, what do you say?
I'm going to be the oddball on this one. First of all, nobody watches baseball. Baseball is dying. Nobody under the age of 40 cares about baseball. Okay. Secondly, especially at HBCUs, they're competing against the cost of attendance. That's the biggest difference between predominantly white universities and HBCUs. It's the cost of attendance. That check that athletes get on a monthly basis for whatever living expenses they may have, a little bit of entertainment, whatever. So because they can't hold a job. So, at a major university, that cost of attendance might be up to $3,000-$4,000 a semester. They're not getting that at HBCUs because they don't have a television contract. Now, their argument is going to be, well, our kids won't be able to get drafted. They won't be accessible to the combine because we're playing. Mm-hmm. Your kids are not getting drafted anyway.
Deion said that's going to change. Deion said that's going to change.
That has been going up every single year except
not
for
this past year.
They play in the spring.
If you can play, they will find you.
Right.
They will find you. You don't need to go to the combine. If they really want you, they will find you. But it's a money issue, and it became so obvious during the spring. The viewership went up. There's really nothing in the spring that people gravitate to on a weekly basis as far as sport.
Kenzie.
I wish I could put you and Kenzie on the two shot together. Go ahead, Kenzie. Let them have it.
Well, first of all, Gary, softball is now the fourth highest grossing sport in college. It's the only women's sport up there, and it's about to surpass baseball. It's one of the newest sports, and it keeps going up. And I don't know if you've seen the college softball playoffs, but it's been upset after upset after upset. It's literally one of the most exciting sports, and people sleep on it because they're like, softball is gonna be like baseball, and it's not. And it's fun to tune into every week. I mean, that's what I did all weekend was watch college softball, and it was incredible, and the teams were incredible, and there's a lot of super regionals are coming up, and the WCS is coming up. And, if you're going to play football in the spring, you're going to take away from these young ladies who have so much talent. And, this is where it ends for most of them. There's not really a great pro softball league. Most of them go overseas. So,
and Kenzie, I do not disagree with you about how it's growing, but you mentioned the tournament. All tournaments generate eyes.
No, but right now, during the regular season, not including the tournament.
Okay.
During the regular season,
she says the fourth highest gross.
Fourth highest.
Grice, you've been nodding your head the whole time. Go ahead.
No, I just agree with the 100%. I mean, I think, it's taking away from, these sports. And I know everybody says that they don't like baseball, they don't like softball, where somebody's liking them because it's still on ESPN, and I think that's kind of the thing. And everybody's, discussing contracts. The whole getting back to this initial conversation, FCS football, even this spring, didn't take or push out any of these other major sports to get on these major contracts. I still think it's important just to keep FCS football where it is and continue to grow it in the fall, just like everything else.
Guru, you have any thoughts on this topic?
No, I disagree. Well, no, I do and I don't. I agree wholeheartedly that softball is on the up and up and on the rise. A couple of years ago, I've done the broadcasting for the softball state championship for the NCHSAA for years, and you'd be amazed at the number of attendants that show up for that. So I'm not surprised. Softball's always been big. It's entertaining, but I don't think baseball is necessarily going anywhere. I just don't think it's quite on the forefront.
Do you think the smaller levels of football need to go to the spring to get away from the ACC and the SEC in the fall and have their own thing in the spring?
No, I like football in the fall. I mean, I understand it from a business standpoint. And I know Grice, he's a money guy and he might have a different opinion, but I don't know. I just think that what you might gain in losing the competition from the ACC or the other divisions, you will lose in interest from your own fan base because spring, people they want to go see golf and they want to go see a lot of other things. And I think you coming out of the cold doldrums of winter, you want to be outside, and I just don't know that football is quite going to have that gravitational pull to get people there.
All right, well, it's time to find out about the Raleigh Sweet 16 as we go to the corner. I think maybe I can't go to the corner. I'm just gonna put it on screen. You guys have at it.
All right, well, here we go. The final Raleigh Sweet 16 of the 2021 spring football season here at Grice. And, no real surprises. In fact, I think if you go back and look at it, it's pretty in line with what we've seen for about the past 4 or 5 weeks. Obviously, Rolesville, I know it was a 35-14 loss to Vance, the last Vance. I like to keep saying that. But it was 20-14 at the half, and it was a much more competitive game than I think the final score indicated. And, I think seeing Byron Brown on one leg still held his own, but he was on one leg and he was pretty useless at times against that incredible Vance defense. But nonetheless, I think they're the best team in the Raleigh area. Cleveland right there had that incredible game with a powerhouse Mount Tabor team, came up 8 points short. They move up to second. Cardinal Gibbons, they did drop down from first to third going into this final ranking. They were just completely outclassed by Greensboro Grimsley. And looking down, everybody's about the same as they've been for most of the year. Wake Forest, Panther Creek. Hats off to Panther Creek, by the way. Incredible season. Had that close loss there to Myers Park late in the year. But Clayton, Friendship, great year for Friendship, Hillside, Millbrook. They're down the list. You can see them right there. Any thoughts from you, Grice? Because I think it's a pretty decent year for Raleigh football.
It definitely was. I mean, you look at your surprises, positive and negative. I mean, I think Panther Creek, we looked there first when they played Olympic. You're assuming Olympic's going to steamroll them, and kind of do the whole Charlotte to Raleigh thing that's been going on. And I really think Panther Creek showed their mettle and how tough they were this year, taking Myers Park, to the brink in that game and really earning the respect of a lot of people. You look at Cleveland and wonder kind of what might have happened with if Hampton's in the game there, if he's able to be a part of that team and maybe they could, pull off the win there. You look and, I mean, goodness, kind of taking that step back early in the year. I mean, we had Leesville Road in the top 3. I think that's, the Pride being 16 or finishing there was probably one of my surprises kind of the other way. I really thought, coming off of that state championship berth, they would be primed and poised to really stay in that top 5 within the News and Observer. So that's unfortunately, I mean, the COVID year kind of produces surprises on both ends of the spectrum, but definitely a great list of some well-deserving teams here in this top 16.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the COVID year because, there are some teams that had this season been played back in the fall would have been in the mix and are not in the mix now because of circumstance. You can certainly see that in the West. East Forsyth comes to mind. Glenn comes to mind. West Forsyth and some of these triad teams were hit or miss. And in completely different circumstances had it been played in the fall. But you know what? It wasn't. It's played in spring, and it is what it is. But, hey, man, this is what I'm really working on, waiting to debut. We've got the super team. We've been hyping it up for weeks and weeks. I know we've had a lot of phone calls and discussions and everything else related to this. we're going to kind of tease the first team, but we do have the second team, the super team, and I think we're going to go ahead and put it up right there. Let's look at the second team defense. Right there, I'll start us off. Defensive line, West Rowan High School, Zeke Biggers. And I've seen this guy for 4 years just dominate the offensive lineman up there in the Northern Piedmont Conference. So a good pick for him. Trey Robinson, Cleveland, saw him firsthand again in that Mount Tabor game, punishing defensive lineman. Kavion Freshwater, Northeastern, just like his brother, just an absolute freak. We'll look forward to seeing him in the coming years. Here's a guy we've had talked about on the show, Torrin Wright, A.L. Brown High School. You're going to see him playing on Saturdays here in a couple of years. By the way, he's only a junior. Him and Freshwater both, I imagine, will probably be first-teamers this upcoming year.
For sure.
Jabril McNeil Sanderson, incredible linebacker, playing for Coach Jeremy Buck up there in Sanderson. Big year for him. Albert Red, Glenn. Again, Glenn's one of those teams, and he's only a junior. Glenn is one of those teams I think would have been competing for a state championship had it been in the fall season. Circumstances played out the way it did. Carter Wyatt's another one of these juniors, and if you look at the trend of this second-team defense, a lot of juniors, I think a lot of these guys are going to be playing next year. There's going to be some big-time football in the state. Caleb Curtin, Grimsley, he's a senior defensive back. Jaden Robinson up there at Reedsville, senior, very shut-down kind of guy. You don't throw on him very much. Of course, nobody does much of anything against Reedsville anyway.
Not at all.
Noah Gist, Lexington, sophomore, so I hope to see a lot more about him. Kashawn Monk up there at Cleveland, saw him Friday night, or this past, I guess it's 2 Friday nights now.
Yep.
Look forward to him. Punter, Todd Pledger, Mountain Island Charter. Good to see the 1A guys on the list. Punt returner, Albert Fleming. I know we had a lot of conversation about this pick, but this guy right here, really just carried the mail, great numbers against some really stiff competition. So, Bryce, there you go. That's the second team in North Carolina. What do you think?
I mean, you had some great names there. Actually, Albert Fleming is a kid I coached in youth ball. I mean, great, punt returner, elusive. I mean, he's taking one back on, me when I was at Hopewell. Great kid there. Pledger, saw at the Queen City Bowl. I mean, he really is 6'8". He definitely is. I kept angling for them to throw him a jump ball, but, he's great as a punter. And I mean, even in the QC Bowl, it wasn't hard to see why, regardless of classification, he was where he was. Carter Wyatt's another name, Grice's Gym alumni. Coach Hickman to the show, raves about him. And, it's not hard to see when you watch him play why he's excited about him and why that program continues to be successful. But I'm with you. I mean, especially that linebacker core of just all of those juniors from big time, well-known programs. That first team next year seems like it's going to have a lot of those names on it.
No kidding. Glad you mentioned Carter Wyatt because he is just an absolute stud. Junior, Torrin Wright at A.L. Brown, a junior. That's going to be some of these elite guys that I think we mentioned next year. But that was the second team defense. Now let's take a look at the second team offense. Right there at the top, this is a guy that I was hyping up a lot when we was going with our high school Heisman, but Birdie Whitson, the quarterback at TC Robertson, statistically had one of the best years in the state at quarterback. Really likes to sling the ball around. Could rush it as well, by the way. Toasted, we mentioned A.L. Brown, really toasted them in that playoff game. Running back, Marion Hampton, mentioned that he missed the state championship game and was injured down the stretch. I think had the injuries and just he not be slowed down there towards the end. I think that he was probably a shoe-in for number one and potentially Camaro Edmonds as well from Havelock. Both of those guys injury late in the year. But let's look at the other one, running back Tate Carney, Davie County, junior. Let's keep a lookout for that. Jared Wilson, West Forsyth High School, big guy. Leo, man, and I always mess up this guy. He's been playing forever at Butler. Ardondo. I always mess up his name, Ardondo. He seems like he's been starting at Butler for about 5 years. Well deserved there on the offensive line. Jackson Lewis up there at High Brighton, stud for sure. He's a dog. Jared Wilson. I think we'll get Jared Wilson on here twice, though, by the way. West Forsyth. We'll get
so big. He deserves the second name.
He is. He's so big, too. Blake Davis, Kings Mountain. What a tremendous pick there. tight end, Benji Gosnell, East Surrey. He's a big boy, and he's probably a better baseball pitcher than he is even a tight end, but one of those great athletes up there. It seems like East Surrey. You know about that 3-3-6, Grice, but they just seem to be churning them out up there at East Surrey.
Oh, for sure.
Wide receiver Lance Patterson, he put on a absolute dynamite show in the state championship game against Cleveland. He was shining as a punt returner, a kick returner, picked off a couple passes, had a couple key fumble returns. Incredible there. Congratulations to him. Cameron Hoover, Havelock, another one of those guys. Both those guys, I think, were number one, and they were both electric. William Boyd, kicker at Asheville. Another Mountain Island Charter guy right here. Congrats to Coach Washington up there. But Jaden Robinson, this guy right here, his stats, I think he was somewhere, I don't know what his average was, maybe about 40 yards, but incredible for him. And there's the athlete. You know, I kind of thought he should be on the first team. He may even be the high school Heisman coming up in this upcoming year. But Alonzo Barnett at Grimsley is just absolutely amazing. I think he could play any position on the field and excel at it. He's one for us to keep an eye on going into the next season. But also, just by the way, I just want to throw it out there. We will have the Charlotte Sweet 16 and the first team coming up here a little bit later in the show. All the teams will be released in the Raleigh News and Observer, the Charlotte Observer website by 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday. So, guys, set your browser, set your watches, make sure you get on there so you can see the full team coming out tomorrow.
Good deal.
Let me get out of the way.
Is it Kenzie time, baby?
I think it is.
Time already.
It's your last Kenzie time? I don't know if I can
Last
do that.
one.
We need you to come back in the fall somehow, some way. You're going to do that for us.
Exactly.
For sure.
All right.
I mean, oh no. Seems like, oh no, it's ending. I can't believe it's ending. So,
What was your favorite part about being on the show and some of the things that you did?
I mean, I loved coming on here every Monday. I think anybody who knows me knows that. I talked about it a lot. I think getting to interview all the incredible young men and women who have done absolutely phenomenal in this year of uncertainty with sports gave me like a lot of entertainment because, you know, my athletic career was ending and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And to be able to stay in sports was incredible and to do something that I was so passionate about that I didn't know if I would be any good at. You know, it was so much fun, and I can't pick a singular moment, but, you know, to see it all come full fruition with Alyssa Lang was probably, you know, one that definitely wrapped it up. And then I think the one that wrapped up our fall season, the one that I was like, you didn't know this either, the one that I was like, man, like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life was like when I interviewed Jacoby Henderson. I was like, if this kid loves football that much and I get to talk to him and we love like sports the same, like, man, like that, it doesn't get better than that. And that's when I realized that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. So those two moments are like what come to mind.
That's pretty cool.
Kenzie, I really noticed your growth from the fall season to the spring season. You know, when we took the football hiatus for basketball, and then when we came back after basketball, you were a whole different person. I mean, it's like you had matured 2 or 3 years in the span of 2 months. You've done an outstanding job, and we look forward to seeing you next year, even though we know you'll have a busy schedule.
Yes, sir.
Kenzie, I wanted to say a few things. One of my goals has always been to have a high school kid involved in something like this. And while it had nothing to do with you coming on, I first want to let you know about fate. As you remember when we first met, about 3 days prior to you contacting Langston, I had brought up to him again my desire to have high school kids involved. Now, they had nothing to do with you coming on board. It's just a fate thing. But I wanted to carry that a step further with you and kind of relate some things to you that I've seen you grow tremendously, not just in being I just gonna say you're a more confident individual right now. And in my life, I've had to be in a lot of positions in business to ask people for business, to ask them for things. So I'm going to tell you something, because that's what, as you go forward, you're going to have to be asking a lot of people for interviews, right? So one of the things that I learned, and you took that first step when you contacted Langston. That was a huge step for a young individual. I relate back to me having to make a sales call on someone that I knew had more education than me and probably knew more about what we were going to talk about than I did. That's a huge, kind of pushes you down. But what I've learned in some of my failures is that the worst thing anybody can ever do is tell you no. So you're going to have to ask for some interviews in the future. Don't be afraid to. You just move forward and do it, because all they can do is say no. And you took that great step when you asked if you could come on and be part. That was huge. I don't know if people really realize a high school kid just coming out of nowhere to ask, can I come on and be on your show? And I want you to carry that confidence forward and never let the thought that someone can say no to you push you down, because, hey, they say no, fine, I'll just go find something else. Because I tell you, I've got confidence that anybody that tells you no, they don't want to interview, they're going to be later saying, I wish I had interviewed with her, and I want to get an interview with her. So just do it. Ask. If you get told no, then that's fine. Move on to the next person. Carry forward, because, hey, they can't kill you. They can't take your money away from you. They're just going to say no. And
be respectfully.
Yeah, don't hold a grudge.
Persistent.
Tells you know.
Yeah.
Persistent.
Listen to what Dale is saying, and he's very true. But Dale's the same person that got me in trouble with the Richmond County folks. Way back in the day.
You got yourself in trouble.
Just remember.
It was such a sentimental moment, and Grinder's like, man, remember that time Dale got me in trouble with Richmond County?
He's telling the truth, but he gets you in trouble. So maybe you might not listen to
What were you saying at the game, Grinder? Remember we were talking. Kenzie, last interview. Who did you get to interview?
You know, I had to go back to where it all started, so I interviewed the GOAT, Langston Works.
Did you really?
Wow.
The GOAT?
Good. Great.
Did he had a fresh shape up the whole nine, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he originally said no, but I was persistent.
That's
I'm kidding. He did not say no.
Real good. Well, I'm excited. Let's roll it.
All right, today we're here with Langston Wirtz, the guy who gave me this internship in the first place. But Langston, how did you first get your start in the industry?
Kenzie, I got to be honest. I went to college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was in pre-law and then I was in pre-med, and I had no idea. I was like, And one day we had to turn in a paper for English class, because I went to North Carolina. And the first 2 years, everybody takes the same classes. You're in general college before you declare a major. And so I was in English class, and we had an assignment, and we had to grade each other's papers. And a female friend of mine who lived in Morrison dorm, I lived in Hinton James, said, "You're a really good writer. You should try for the newspaper." I'm like, "What?" I mean, I didn't know. And so I went and tried out for a student newspaper. And Scott Fowler, who I now work with, was the editor of the Daily Tar Heel. He gave me a job, but they had like 300 people apply, and they hired me for some reason. And once I got behind the computer, and back then the computers, these big old heavy, wide things with a green dot, they looked like Palm. But yeah, once I got behind the computer, I fell in love with it.
And you've been with the Observer for like 30 years.
Yeah. I've been there 30, it'd be 34, 33 this year. It'll be 33 this year. I was hired in November of 88.
And you've gone through, quite a bit of different topics. Why do you always seem to come back to sports?
I've always I just like sports. I've always liked sports. Back when I did the audition for the Daily Tar Heel, they said you can go right about anything you want to. I picked the UNC women's basketball game because it was just something I can go and watch. I just like sports. I always have. Golf's my favorite sport, and my kids get mad because, like this past Sunday, the NBA playoffs were on. I'm watching Phil Mickelson at the PGA. I mean, I just love golf. That's my favorite sport. But I've done music and video games that we've discussed, and I've done a lot of celebrity stories. I was a local columnist for a little while. That's the only job I probably would have left this for, is to be local columnist. But I did an audition, and Tommy Thompson, one of the best writers I've ever been around, he got it. I was a finalist, so that's kind of my story. I almost made it.
And who's that one person who made you, stop and take a deep breath when you interviewed them?
Oh man, Muhammad Ali made me stop and take a deep. There's been a lot of them. Muhammad Ali made me stop and take a deep breath. Janet Jackson made me stop and take a deep breath because at the time I interviewed her, I was young, she was young, and to see somebody who you like watch, and it's kind of like if I don't know who, like the current person like Drake or somebody you got a chance to interview. Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of people though that just kind of made you go, wow. I mean, Barack Obama I interviewed one time. That was kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of people actually over the years. I've been doing this a long time. I interviewed Usher before he was Usher. Not that he made me take a deep breath. It was just funny because he was with his mother. He was like 15, 16 years old at the time. And just to see what he became from that is pretty interesting.
The first time I heard of Usher was in the Justin Bieber movie.
Yeah.
So, that every time I think of Usher, I think of Justin Bieber, which is kind of sad. But anyway, the Biebs. You got to be a believer.
That's right.
Right. Now, we got the legendary speed round with the GOAT himself. Langston, what's your favorite color?
Blue. I mean, come on.
What's your favorite food?
Kenzie. That's it. I like Thai. Thai's my thing. I really I like pad Thai. That's probably my weakness.
What's your favorite music, like musical artist?
My Mount Rushmore musical artists would be Prince, Michael Jackson, Luther Vandross, Janet Jackson, in no particular order, but those are probably my 4 favorite artists of all time.
Good. What's your favorite TV show?
My favorite TV show, gosh, like right now or ever?
Ever.
I really loved A Different World growing up. That was my show. I mean, there's so many I liked. I love Moonlighting. When I was in college, we had to we didn't have VCRs, and that really predates me. We didn't have DVRs, so you had to be in front of the TV to watch it. And we used to have these moonlighting parties, and everybody would gather in the there's like on each floor of the dorm. There's like a conference room. We gather in the conference room. But Different World is one of my all-time favorite shows. Yeah, I love that show.
Then finally, the last question, the most important one: if you were a superhero, who would you be?
Thor. Cool hammer, Norse mythology, daddy issues, sister want to kill me, brother doesn't like me, but I got a cool girl here on earth. That'll work for me. I'd be Thor.
That was fantastic.
That was great, Kenzie.
Yeah, that was really good. Daggone Langston, boy, he's a character. 30 years. That boy got a lot of Botox from here and there, boy. Look good. But we got someone special here. Liz, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Fantastic. You raised the great one right here. I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you. She certainly is special, but y'all can't make me cry. Like, that's a promise. That can't happen tonight.
Oh, no crying. Just straight joy.
It's all right if you do.
But it's nice to meet y'all. I mean, I feel like I already know you guys, and it's kind of weird meeting you for the first time online, but I hear so much about you and watch y'all. So it's nice to finally say hello.
We're going to miss Kenzie. I'm so glad she's going to Tennessee. It's one of the most beautiful campuses that I've ever been on. And so I'm excited for her. I know she's going to do great things. I'm still going to talk to the football team, and I got a couple of connections with the coaches still, even though they had a shuffle. So hopefully she can get in good with them and start her career going while she's in college.
Well, thank you so much. I know that means a lot to her. She did get into the athletic dorm. Well, it's not supposed to be the athletic dorm anymore, but she'll be right there in the action. So So yeah, she fell in love with it day one. I mean, it's been as soon as she walked on that campus, you knew that's where she was going to end up.
Liz, it was. I feel like we already know you because when we were covering the private schools in the fall, we would see Kenzie, at halftime or during the game, and we were like, "You out here by yourself?" And she would always say, "No, my parents are down there in the end zone outside the field."
Yeah,
Out in the parking lot.
yeah. I remember the first time. Was it the first time I met you? Was it the
Providence Day.
Yeah, Providence
No,
Day.
it was the tennis match, but
The tennis. That's right. Yeah, it was. Chris, let's just go back to one of your first interviews. Chris really wants a rematch. Please tell him it's bad for him to have a rematch.
I gotta say, I watched those videos, and that whole match was rough. Okay, like I would love to be at the second one because let me tell you what, that was some interesting tennis.
Exactly. I mean, I had to like not bring my C game just to make it fun.
C game.
C game.
I mean, I'm down for a rematch.
Yeah, I'm playing around. Come on. But I can tell you what, Chris, there's zero chance Chris would ever beat me in tennis. I can tell you that. All right, we got. Hey, he's supposed to be backstage. What's going on? Seriously.
I've been watching every word, guys.
Liz, I heard you prepared. We all prepared something real, real special for Kenzie. So let's roll the tape. Kenzie, it must be Kenzie time. What's up, girl?
Kenzie time. We got Trey Nicholson, Mountain Island Charter, and Charter.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mountain Island Charter, yeah.
I talked a little bit with Coach Griner last week, and he says that you're a big lifter. You squat like 500 pounds. Is that right?
Yeah, 530.
Dang. That's like 3 of me.
Well, that leads me to my next question, Miss Kenzie. Is Lake Norman a legit contender to upset number 1 Vance on Friday?
No. Not even close. Lake Norman's a good team. I watched, a good Huff team go up against them, but they run the wishbone offense. If you infiltrate that power side and get pressure, they have no clue what to do. And with Vance's defensive line, they're going to struggle. Triple option. I was just corrected. My bad.
Kenzie, what do you see from a student perspective?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. CMS does a horrible job managing money in general. I go to Huff, and we don't necessarily have athletic problems, but if you look at our school, we have a lot of other problems that aren't handled wisely. And I think, it shows when you have a light up sign, but you don't have enough money to put salt on the wooden things for the trailers. That's ridiculous. CMS doesn't do a good job managing money, which is why we have problems like this, economics, hire a guy like Grice, fix it. It's not hard. Manage your money wisely and you wouldn't have as many problems. Today we're here with Alyssa Lang. And what was it like breaking into a male-dominated field at such a young age?
I think there's a lot of challenges no matter what career you're pursuing, right? There is definitely more support out there than the other side, and you just kind of have to ignore the other side.
Yeah. And who's that one person who you had to take a deep breath and pull yourself together before you interviewed them?
I got to interview Jordan Spieth several years ago when I was still working in local television. And that was pretty cool because he had just won the Masters a few years earlier. And he was somebody who I really enjoyed watching play the game of golf. Jordan Spieth was one. And then early on when I first started working in Columbia, South Carolina, anytime I interviewed Steve Spurrier, I was always a little bit nervous because I knew that he might throw in a not a jab or a joke or something like that. And I was always so nervous that I was like, I'm not going to be quick-witted enough to reply with something good back. But
we are here in what is basically the equivalent of Wimbledon.
I'm going to dominate this. I mean, built for glory. You got to come. It's like stretching, don't even need it. It's like a cat out of the jungle about to go take the prey and dominate this set and then win the next set and then go eat good, because when you win, the meal's gonna taste a lot better.
Victory meal.
No doubt. We go in sizzling.
We going sizzling.
Looks like it's about to go down.
Yeah, it's going to go down all right. Either me, my leg, or him, one of the two.
What'd you think, Kenzie, right there in that first set?
I mean, the match did not disappoint. Like I said, basically Wimbledon. They coordinated outfits. I don't know if they did that on purpose, but definitely the match did not disappoint.
But Kenzie, I've just got to say, your work continues to impress. Your interviews and putting together our video, I mean, incredible effort. I really appreciate that.
That's right. Don't forget us when you make it big. That's for sure. Oh, you
That's
got a little good stuff.
I'm trying to hold it in. I'm such an ugly crier that you don't want to see it.
You know what? It's really been a joy, Kenzie, every week to because I didn't have you on the whole show at first, right? It was like we just had you on your little segment. And then one day somebody was missing. I think it was the day Sam had missed, and we put you on the whole show. And I said, she's really good. And that's incredible. And Chelsea was the same last week. That's incredible for somebody your age to come on and have such maturity and unafraid to have an opinion. I mean, you're courageous. And I mean, we have this thing in the back, Liz, where we talk like a little chat. And every week I'm on the chat like, I can't believe how good she is. I mean, she has it.
Aww.
She just has to develop it, but she has it and it's there. And I just want to follow you as you go along. And like I said, one day when you're Alyssa and the next you is if you're Alyssa, don't forget about me when I call you. Hey, I need to interview kids.
Langston, when you watched her interview Alyssa, at least when I did, I could see that if she stays on her path, she will surpass. I think she's got. I just can't believe how well you handled that.
No, Kenzie got that Monday Night Football sideline host Fox. Yeah. She's got that thing. She's got to develop it. And Kenzie, I'm not blowing smoke. I really truly believe that. I really do.
Thank you.
I really do.
You have it. Yeah.
All right, so we're making Kenzie cry. Liz, thank you for coming on. Your daughter has to stay because she has to work. But we really appreciate you letting her come on with us every week for the last 2 years. Appreciate it.
I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, first of all, Langston, the fact that some kid just randomly emails you and we end up like this, that's, to me, a pretty big deal. Kenzie obviously is very persistent and, she's not going to let people tell her no. Very strong-willed, which is a good thing now. It wasn't so much when she was 3. But, the fact that she came out and she's like, she did that all on her own. I didn't even know about it. But I thank you truly from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for giving her the opportunity. And to each and every one of you involved in the show, I thank you. You all have played a huge role in Kenzie's senior year. It's been a tough year, as everybody knows. And I think that the biggest thing that I told her the other day is what I love so most about every one of you is that you're in it for the kids. Everything that you do, everything that you write about, everything that you talk about, there's always a benefit for the kids. And I love that. And it's not just on the sports side. I mean, it's on the broadcasting side too. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Well, that's Miss McClain. We're going to let her go. Thanks again for coming on the show. All right, so it's time for Gloom and Doom, and I guess I have to host Gloom and Doom. And wait, we got to change. Dale, you're coming back for Gloom and Doom Part 2. We got to change. Hold on, it's and Gary's out too.
Chelsea, Kenzie, Sam, Alex.
Why are you in Gloom and Doom, Sam?
I don't know.
Well, this is going to be interesting because we have Sam in Gloom and Gary writes these questions, so he must have a reason for including you in Gloom. You know what? I see it on the first question.
I see it too right now.
All right, Kenzie, one's got to go. Ice cream shops. We got to get rid of Baskin Robbins. We got to get rid of Cold Stone, which my kids would not like. We got to get rid of Dairy Queen, Ben and Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, or Tebow's Creamery. Which one's got to go?
You know, I've never been to a Tebow's Creamery, so that's interesting. They must only have those in Florida.
Don't be disrespectful, Kenzie.
That was respectful.
Gary is dying in the back. Gary is dying in the back.
But I'm not a huge fan of Baskin Robbins ice cream, so I'm gonna get rid of Baskin Robbins because it's Tebow's house.
Chelsea, what's got to go?
I have never been to a Haagen-Dazs cream or actual location store for that.
Yeah.
Same with Tebow's, but every time I've been to a Dairy Queen, my experience has not been great.
The DQ Lounge, no. When I was a kid, Chelsea, when I was a kid, there was this place called Queens Park. They showed like second-run movies for $1. And after you left Queens Park, then we all go to Dairy Queen. We call it a DQ Lounge. And we get like a big hot dog and a sundae. I mean, you mess with my childhood, you kick a Dairy Queen to the curb.
No, I think they do the ice cream flip, and they tried to do it and they dropped it. So I was like,
did you get it for free?
Yeah.
They make you another for
I
free?
still wasn't impressed.
Oh.
So I'm gonna have to boot Dairy Queen.
Okay, now Chelsea, I know which one of these is not going to go with Sam, but let's see what Sam has to say.
Well, I mean, Tebow's Creamery, I've never had it, but it's got to be phenomenal.
It's got to stay.
It's got to be so good. And Cold Stone is definitely probably one of my favorites. I liked when Cold Stone first came out, when they started mixing everything right there on that Cold Stone. That's where they got the name, I guess. But it's fantastic. Baskin Robbins is so-so. Dairy Queen is okay too. The Blizzards and Ben & Jerry's is legendary. Haagen-Dazs, though, I feel like I can only remember that in like a grocery store. So that shop's got to go. They just in grocery stores now. Do they have like the wooden spoon? I don't know.
Haagen-Dazs not farewell. I'm talking preps.
No.
All right. Summer sport. We'll start with Chelsea. Summer sport you can live without. Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, WNBA, NASCAR, PGA, or Tim Tebow Sports Adventures. Gary wrote these questions.
Who wrote this?
Gary is dying.
Oh my
God. Look, man, look. Gary is dying.
Gary, man. Like that gummy.
Oh, God.
I swear, Gary, man, we're going to have it out. You next week.
All right, Chelsea, which one's got to go?
For the sake of MLB, MLS, and PGA golf, my dad watches that with my mom. They love that. I love the WNBA. And I can see Chris in the chat. He's not going to be happy with this, but NASCAR, can't watch it. Not entertaining to me. That's got to go.
No left turns for Chelsea. Kenzie, what you got?
Well, first of all, I just want to dedicate this to the Huff soccer coaches. Coach Kutcher, I'm sorry that I didn't understand accounting very well. And Coach Smith, you're a legend. Thanks for always hyping me up. So I keep telling them this. I don't understand soccer at all. So I think the MLS has got to go just because I don't understand it at all.
Okay. Sam, we know that Tim Tebow is staying. So which of the other things is leaving?
How do you know?
Because you're Tim Tebow's biggest fan.
I might be one.
I think you have a statue of him in the backyard, like in the Adobe Gillis book.
There's only a couple of people I'd ask for an autograph. He's one of them. Nobody else. But I'll tell you what. I originally wanted to go with the WNBA, get rid of just to piss off Gary. But I'm not going to do that. I think that they're still the best of the best in the entire world. The MLS is like nowhere even close to the best of the best in their own sport. So I would get rid of that, because if you're going to watch soccer, you need to watch the Premier League. You need to watch the high level of soccer play, and it's just different. And the MLS is just not there yet. So that's got to go.
That's got to go. I'd have to bounce Tebow on this one.
What? If Tim Tebow Sports Adventures, are you serious? That's like
I would watch that TV show.
He's almost like the Crocodile Hunter. He's like the Crocodile Hunter. How great his show was.
He's like a cat. He just keeps bouncing back and has another life in pro sports. All right, Chelsea, most likely to get traded: Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones, who basically said he didn't want to be in Atlanta anymore this week, or Tim Tebow.
As far as trades and these people, don't have such a big opinion, but The smallest name to me. This might get someone mad, but Tim Tebow.
There you go.
I go trade Tim Tebow.
There you go.
He barely making the team. Nobody trading for him.
Kenzie, which one is most likely to get traded?
So the Deshaun Watson situation is obviously iffy. Aaron hates Green Bay. He's got some very strong opinions. Everybody's vying for Julio to come to where they are. Tim, he's not getting traded. Jacksonville's his last stop. Nothing against Tim. I think he's a great guy. But, I think it comes down to me between Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones. And I don't know what the Packers are going to do because it doesn't seem like they want to cut ties with Aaron, but Aaron's very upset. So I'm going to go with Julio because that just seems like the most logical reason at this point.
Sam.
Well, Karen Belt's got it right. You saw her; she just posted on the Facebook on Messenger. Poor Tebow. I don't know why does he take so much criticism from that?
Gary wrote the question.
The Antichrist himself.
And that's a part two, Sam, as well.
All right. So the guy that's going to get traded, there's no way that Green Bay can trade Aaron Rodgers. I don't think anybody's ever been an MVP and been traded. Deshaun Watson, I would have loved if we could have got him in Carolina. That dude is amazing. But the guy that's going to get traded is Julio Jones because they're going to get a lot for him, and he's not a quarterback. And you can get a lot for – if you say you get a first-rounder and more stuff for Julio Jones and you get rid of the contract, it's a really good trade for somebody. They get a lot. They get a lot in return.
Grace, OTA started. Aaron Rodgers always goes to OTAs. You know what he was? He was out partying with his girlfriend this weekend. Is he trying to call their bluff? Is he trying to call their bluff?
I think I always tell people Aaron Rodgers doesn't talk to his family. So if he treats his family like that, he's going to treat this franchise however he feels. He's the one I think, man. I think he's out of here. They're going to have to do something because you can't have that type of talent sitting on the bench.
Yeah. Chris, any thoughts here?
I think Aaron Rodgers, I think his girlfriend's the problem, to be honest. He's got value, so I would trade him because you'll get something back. I mean, Tebow has no value. And Chelsea, come on, how can you get rid of my NASCAR? Come on.
She did you dirty. I saw you told her she was fired.
No, you can't do that.
All right, it's time to go. Hold on. I got to get – I'm like really bad today, guys. I'm sorry. I'm off my game. I got to admit, I'm off my game. All right, we're going to the corner, and we're going to find out who is on the first team, Super Team. But first, we're going to find out who won the Charlotte Observer Sweet 16.
All right, Grace, here we go. The final Sweet 16 of the 2021 Charlotte Observer Sweet 16 spring year. I don't think there's any surprise whatsoever. Vance ends up number one. By the way, just for the record, if you want to go back and look at our very first episode of this season, who did we have as the number one team? Do you remember that, Grace?
I don't. I thought it was Huff.
Charlotte Catholic.
Really?
Catholic was my preseason number one. There you see them, number two. But Charlotte Catholic 9-1. Salisbury, after the very convincing win over St. Paul's, moving up to number three. Huff, I still think if I had to take Salisbury and Huff head to head, or even maybe Catholic, I'd still think Huff would give them all a good run for their money, showing them a lot of respect there at 4, Weddington 5, Myers Park, tremendous season. Butler, Monroe, hats off to Johnny Sal, man. I love to see Monroe up there in the top 10. Phenomenal. Kings Mountain didn't end the way that they wanted to, but mentioned had football been played in the fall, Kobe Paysor, I think that Kings Mountain team may have been number one. But it is what it is. They end up there in the top 10, though. Richmond County, kind of the same thing. Providence, congratulations to them, top 11. Great team for that Providence team. I think that's a program on the up and up. Lake Norman, we've said it all year. I still would take my chances with them against a lot of teams in the 4A. Incredible year for Coach Oliphant. Proud of all those guys. Ardrey Kell again, Shelby, Burns, Mount Pleasant. Man, is there more of a blue-collar team than Mount Pleasant? They're kind of like Catholic. They just line up and bring the physical to you.
Oh, for sure. This is a great list here. You look at how unforgiving in a COVID year that, a lot of these teams are. Huff's only crime was losing to the state champion. Same for Weddington. You look here at, seeing a team like Richmond Senior because of all the issues, some self-inflicted, some out of their control with COVID, and then just not really being able to get to a point to gel. You talk about the team that had they played in the fall. You're looking at that, that program being that, that team to beat within that 4A playoffs. This list is full of some great teams and really not a lot separating that. But shout out again to the top three. Those teams that win state champions. Seeing Salisbury up there, is that Salisbury's highest finish? It's got to be close.
I'm not sure where they finished back. They won their state championship around 2010 when they had Romar Morris that went on to play at Carolina. So I'm not sure exactly if Salisbury's been in the top three in recent time, but they. 2003 to about 2010, 11, 12, they were as good as about anybody. So I'm sure they've been up there in the top five. We'd have to really go back into the archives to see that. But hey, great year for them this year. And hey, by the way, I think they're going to be back next year as well. So don't count out the points. So hey, this is what we've all been waiting for.
Oh, yeah.
We've hyped this enough. We've had meetings. We've had text messages back and forth. I know I've looked at a lot of players across the state. To truly have a statewide super team. And hey, Langston, without any further ado, let's go ahead and give the fans what they want. We're going to start right here with the defensive line. Jabari Rice Wilson, Kings Mountain. He's a stud if there's ever been a stud, or like they say, you got to have a dog, and he's one of those dogs. See ball, get ball. Curtis Neal Huff, again, same kind of guy. Eli Hall Crest, man, if I'd love to have this front four if I was coaching defense. Travis Shaw, Grimsley, another one of those dogs. 6'6", 230. Man, and Christ, why weren't we born with those kind of genetics?
Hold on, that is 330. If you go back and watch that Butler Grimsley, that is not a 230-pound man. That guy is a truck, man. He plays
he moves with very fleet feet. He can move.
Correct.
You'd be amazed that a boy that big can move like that. Let's move back there to the linebackers. Jacory Bible, Rollsville. Great season for him. Jaylen Walker may be the best linebacker we've seen in the state this year. He'll be back next year. He's going to be one of those contenders. I have no question whatsoever for the high school Heisman coming up in the fall. We don't have to wait that long. Here's one of those hybrid defenders, linebacker, can also put his hand in the dirt. Malachi Hamrick, Shelby. He's a 4-star. I'll see him playing up there at Carolina here soon. Amari Filial, Myers Park. Isaiah Crowell, East Forsyth. Again, talk about a team that had we played this game back in the fall, I do not think there's a better small 4A team than East Forsyth. You can't lose 6 D1 guys like they did. Again, Jackson King, Hoggard, defensive back, good-looking player down there in Eastern North Carolina. Noah Hartford, Pinecrest, tough physical safety guy, come up there and lay the wood to you, call him the hitman. The punter, and boy, I cannot say this name. You want to pronounce it?
I'm not sure. It's Zaplicki?
Zaplicki, yeah, I think it might be Zaplicki. Eddie Zaplicki, Providence. Great. Again, we mentioned Providence already. And the punt return, the athlete, Jake Snap, Butler, 5'11", 185-pound senior. Great player. Anybody stand out on this one for you guys for the defense?
A few things. That D line, I think, is just outright incredible. You look at the Eli Hall kid, is amazing specimen, just big athlete. Jabari Rice Wilson, we've talked about at length. A finalist. A guy who I think he finished mid-20s as far as sacks, something unheard of even in a normal season. But for him to do it in this COVID year was something downright phenomenal. Shout out to Curtis Neal. As all intents and purposes, sounds like what was his last high school season he played. Very tragic, but what a way to go out, as he had a phenomenal season. And of course, we talked about the Shaw kid from Grimsley, just outright dominant. Going back to watch that Butler game, and we know Butler, and seeing some of the guys on that O-line pop up on our list, and seeing 2, maybe even 3 people having to block him in that game. That D-line to me just stands out, and a lot of juniors on that list as well.
Yeah, a lot of juniors, and I think I could take that entire defense, and I'm going to line them up in a 50, maybe a little bit of a shade 50, walk up one of those linebackers into a 9 technique, and I'm going to beat any offense you can throw at me, I promise.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's incredible.
There's some dogs on that there, but there's some
we got
good-looking
dogs.
offensive guys right here. We line these up, and, man, I don't know who wins. So let's look at the first-team offense. He was one of our finalists there for the high school Heisman, Byron Brown, quarterback at Rollsville. You know, I hated that we saw him pretty much playing on one leg with an injured hip in that state championship game, because I do think that he would have made a big difference in that game. Rollsville may or may not have won it, but I think it would have been a much better game. Congratulations to him. Look at Smothers right there, the high school Heisman, one of the best running backs I've seen, especially as a sophomore in 25, 30 years. Can't wait to see this young man progress. Hezekiah Newby, Eastern Guilford, he's one of those big bruisers that just absolutely ran over people. Kind of reminded me a little bit of a Ron Dane up at Wisconsin.
I like it, Wisconsin,
but I liked him a lot. Here's the guy that I said when I told Langston of anybody on this super team, if I only had one pick and one pick only, it's going to be this guy right here, Yusuf Morgaville. Murphy, 6'5", 330 senior. This guy has already committed to the University of Florida. In fact, they didn't want him to play spring ball. They wanted him to come on down there. I watched this guy in the state championship game, and he may be the most dirty, just down in the trench, mean lineman I've ever seen. Played both sides for Murphy, being a 1A school. But this is the kind of lineman as a high schooler, man, I want to see build a team around. I never, ever project a high school player to say, man, you know what, that guy's going to play on Sunday. But this guy right here certainly has the build. And going to Florida, that's no slouch in the SEC. So I look forward to seeing this guy mature as a player. Josiah Henderson, he's another one of those underclassmen at Rollsville. Colby Smith, Rockingham County, big guy, 6'8", 320. He also played both ways the entire season. By necessity, Rockingham County being a smaller 3A school. Jalil Davis, Richmond County, big guy. Ryland Van, he's heading up to NC State. That's going to be a great acquisition for the Wolfpack. So congratulations to them. This may be the best tight end I've seen in a couple years. Bryson Nesbitt over there at South Meck. Rodney McDay. T.C. Robertson, he was on the other end of a lot of those Whitson passes. So great senior year, put up some incredible numbers. This guy right here, Shalik Knotts, Grice, he could have been the best player on the defense. I think without a doubt, you don't have a first team All-State super team without him on it. Kick returner Makai Wall Dudley, his kick return numbers were just off the chain. And I think we forgot our kicker right here. But it was the I might want to double check. I don't see our kicker on there. But there we see our athlete, Breon Pass, an incredible athlete. I know he's a basketball guy for Reedsville, but
I was about to say,
incredible.
No, he embodies athlete there. I mean, Breon Pass, even with the long line of Reedsville athletes, and I mean, we could spend the entire show talking about that. I mean, he's one of the most recent, most successful guys that come out of that, that Reedsville rich sports culture there, and cool to be able to see him on this list as an athlete. I don't think anyone embodies that more than Breon Pass on this list. The big thing for me, again, Byron Brown. I spoke to one of the Roseville coaches this weekend at a 7-on-7 event. I told him that was one of the most, these last two games, one of the most gutsy performances I've seen from a high school kid, to know he's going into a game, playing against a team tough as Vance in a state championship, knowing that the physicality. I've seen guys that are 100% healthy, not have that toughness and just mental fortitude to play against the team there. So want to shout him out. I mean, you talk about the running backs here, Hollywood, Newby. I mean, you had Hampton on second team. You had Tate Carney. I mean, all guys that had amazing seasons. So it's just great to see. It's a lot of tough decisions, but some great names on that list. And that O-line, I mean, we talked about it from the D-line as far as size. I mean, you're talking 6'5", 6'7" guys, Rockingham, Richmond, all across the way. But definitely, some well-deserved nominees and awards for the first team super team.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure, for the record, we put it out there, is Nolan Hauser from Huff.
Of course.
Tremendous year. Is he not a freshman, by the way?
He is. It's his last name is also pronounced Hoosier. It's
okay.
And the kicker, the punter from his last name's Kaplitsky.
Sorry about that.
Close.
Messing that up.
He's a stud. He's going to Arizona State. He's a stud.
Yes.
He seems to be out tomorrow morning in the in the Raleigh News Observer and Charlotte Observer. I think it's 6:30. They'll go live, and the kicker will definitely be on there tomorrow when they go. I don't know why I didn't show up in the graphic. I have to apologize. I had to follow the source for that one. All right, Sam, you have a little bit of a winning streak.
5 weeks, baby.
And it's time for it to end.
Don't let me get up, Gary. You know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen. You know the term.
It's time for your.
It's Tebow time. It's Tebow time.
Tebow time. Are you nervous? Are you nervous, Sam?
I am nervous. Gary is witty, man. He knows all this stuff. He
also knows your little trick that you.
He's the one that came up with the questions. He came up with all the other questions before. He probably came up with these questions.
No. He didn't come up with these questions, but he knows your strategy. He knows your strategy. All right, he knows your strategy.
Well, let's see it. Come on, Gary.
I don't think you're ready. Let's go, Kenzie.
What is the North Carolina state flower? A, dogwood, B, daisy, C, rose, or D, the flowering dogwood?
Gary, you know how this works. You're the away team.
I'm the challenger. Huh?
Yes.
I'm going with A, dogwood.
Yeah,
Samuel.
It's A. That's what I was going to say, dogwood.
All right, we're 1-1. You see, we got to make like both of you guys like write down your answers.
I promise you I was going dogwood. The only one that was weird is like flowering
dogwood is the state tree, state flower. But okay.
See, here's the thing. I know that Gary knows all these questions because it's all state questions.
They're not all state questions.
Carolina. We'll probably have a skill question.
They're not. Trust me, they're not all state questions. Dale, you're up.
Okay. In 2005, which college basketball?
I told you, like.
What did he say?
Which
college basketball team upset Roy Williams' North Carolina Tar Heels in the first game of the season? A, Santa Clara, B, Davidson, C, Loyola. I can pronounce it. Loyola. Yeah.
Mr. Dean.
Or D, Wright State. Boy, I remember this upset.
Samuel.
Oh, the answer is C.
Loyola Chicago. What you got, Gary?
I'm going to go with this is the first game of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with A, Santa Clara.
That's correct.
Nice.
Gary is now up 2-1. Sam is in
I was thinking Santa Clara, too. That was going to be the other one. Like, golly.
You should have known that I asked the Santa
Clara. You going to ask him basketball coach in North Carolina.
He's a UNC grad.
This is set up from the get-go. It's sad.
It's not sad. It's not sad. Chelsea, next question. Here we go.
All right.
Oh, I'm done.
What is the official?
Like, is it that bad? Y'all have to do everything. Every question's gonna say North Carolina.
No. Go ahead, Justin.
This one is North Carolina. What is the official North Carolina state beverage? A, sweet tea. B, sundrop. C, milk. Or D, lemonade.
Gary.
I'm gonna say A, sweet tea.
Sam.
Dang gummit. He might not miss a question. I know Chris would love for me to say sun drop, but I don't. It's gotta be sweet tea. Yeah.
Sweet tea is not it. The drink is milk.
Milk?
Yeah, I did not know that till.
Are you serious? Is that even a drink? That's a hormone, isn't it?
And honestly, I didn't know that either.
It is 2-1, Gary. And Chelsea, you're up.
All right. In the year 2000, Tom Knotts lost for the first time as a head coach at Independence High School. And then he won the next 109 games. Which team beat Knotts, Chris Leak, and the Patriots 21 years ago? A, Greensboro Page. B, Crest. C, Dorman. Or D, Northwestern?
Gary.
No, it's Sam's turn.
Oh, Sam. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna throw a shot in the dark here. Crest.
Gary.
Crest.
That's the right answer.
In the dark.
I was at that game, and Chris Lee threw a touchdown pass. And they said it wasn't a touchdown pass.
Right at the end of the game.
There's this big, huge controversy about it.
Yeah.
And Knox will still swear to this day and show you on the film where it wasn't a touchdown. I mean, I don't know. I was in the press box, so it's hard to tell. All right, Dale, you have the next one. Stay with Independence.
Yeah, so here's another Indy question. In 2007, Elder High ended Independence 109-game win streak in a nationally televised game at the Kirk Herbstreit Challenge. What state was the game played in? A, Florida, B, Ohio, C, North Carolina, D, South Carolina. And
Gary's on you this time.
B, Ohio.
That gummit. He know everything except the milk question.
What's your answer, Sam?
It's B, Ohio.
All right, Gary 4, Sam 3.
They got really wrong.
You daggone did me dirty there.
They got done dirty that time.
No, everything
didn't Independence get done dirty for that?
Yes, they did. They
sure did.
They made them. They had some funky travel situation. It was really
exactly.
Crazy. All right, Kenzie, here we go.
In 1961, golf fans saw the first international golfer to ever win the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. Who was he? A, Gary Player, B, Greg Norman, C, Julius Boros, or D, Arnold Palmer?
I think it's Gary this time, right?
No, it's Sam.
I keep getting it wrong.
I said the question last time, and you guessed it right after me, and I said, golly, because I knew you got it right.
Okay, Gary's on you.
Come on, Gary. Don't do that.
I'm going to go A, Gary Player.
Sam.
I think I might get him here. I think it's C.
Nope, you just lost, Sam. It's A, Gary Player, and you that. But you know what? Since this time your streak is over. Your streak is over.
Good job.
But just because I had a special question in case you guys had a tie. In 1966, Sam, the Sandy Koufax-led Dodgers went to the World Series for the third time in 4 years. They were heavily favored. Which team swept them? Was it the White Sox? Was it the Orioles? Was it the A's? Was it the Mets?
I don't have a clue about this one.
You even know who Sandy?
Yeah, I know who Sandy Koufax. Come on, man. You act like I don't know people.
Well, I don't know. You weren't born. Your parents weren't born.
I know, but I know sports. I know sport athletes. I just don't know who beat them or swept them.
I don't know who's.
I mean, I thought it was Gary. I couldn't guess right. I thought that was the last question. I had to go with C.
I mean, you got Karen's pulling for you.
Yeah, it's already over with.
Come on, Sam. Get it, man. You can get
Hey,
it.
Sam.
Pull it back up. Let me see it again.
Sam can do it. Come on, Sam.
I'm going to say the White Sox.
What you got, Gary?
I'm going to go with the Orioles.
Sam, we better quit while you're here. He's expanding. Hey. That's correct as well.
That's the same. He's the human almanac, man.
Wow.
You're Gary to do this more often because your streak is really starting to bother me.
Here's the thing. He's already smart. Listen, he's already
competition.
Had 3 state questions. State.
You live in this state. What are you talking about?
We made Sam.
You guys got the dogwood answer wrong. It is not the dogwood. It is the flowering dogwood.
I wasn't flowering
dogwood. We're going to have to replace Sam with Gary in the fall at this rate.
That's fine. I'm out. I'm
done.
No.
No
more show for me. Y'all.
No, it's not fun unless you do it.
Sam's going to build a new street.
My address. I'm going to thank you. Chat.
We'll be a tag team
for all this bullcrap.
All right, we'll be back with Sam and Gary and everybody later. Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot because Alex isn't here. So.
Okay, I'm on the spot. Alex isn't here, but what were you about to say, Langston? I guess I'm going to be doing the okay. Well, hey, let's do the Chelsea's World. Chelsea, who we're going to talk to today?
So I spoke with Christopher Allen. He's a defensive end, defensive tackle, class of 2022 from Wake Forest High School. And Wake Forest is not, I don't consider it Raleigh, but close enough. Great team who I've, followed in the past seasons. I've honestly followed Rollsville a ton, but, Wake Forest, I still think that they're that school, and I've just seen Christopher Allen. He's gotten multiple offers rolling in. So I thought it'd be nice to speak to him.
Well, cool. Well, let's, I think we've got you some theme music now. So let's go ahead and roll that theme music and see if we can get to it on the other side.
Awesome.
Kenzie, it must be Kenzie time. What's up, girl?
Kenzie's on.
Uh-oh. Wrong video.
You're good.
So here I have Christopher Allen from Wake Forest High School, class of 2022 football, just coming off of a season. So Christopher, starting off, just reflecting on the past season, I know you guys went 7-2 overall, 4-1 in your conference. Just reflect on how your season went and your thoughts on it.
I think the season went good for us. I mean, the whole pandemic stuff happened with COVID and stuff, so we didn't even know we were gonna have a season or not. So we first found out the season got canceled. I think like March, February, they got pushed back to like September or something like that. Then September came along and got pushed back again, so we played in the spring. So like all with the little workouts in December and stuff, I think it went good and everything. I think like a lot of people counted us out this year and say that like Wake Forest is gone. It's not like the same Wake Forest, but I think we shut a lot of people up and everything, surprised a lot of people this season.
For sure. And playing an 8-game season, 5 games in your conference, just talk about if there's one game that's your favorite, either an individual performance or even just as the team.
I mean, we had I had a lot of games that's my favorite. I think one of my favorites is the Middlebrook game, first round, playing at Middlebrook. We was down like 17-0 and just watching us fight back, the team getting together and everything, competing and stuff, fighting back, winning that game, man. For me, that was like my second game coming off my torn hamstring injury. Instead of just getting a game-winning strip sack and everything, making like plays to win the game and stuff.
For sure. And you are a junior, class of 2022, and you're receiving a lot of college recruitment from schools like NC Central, A&T, Campbell. Just talk about your recruiting process and how you're working towards a college career.
The recruiting process, it's been kind of good for me, kind of hard with the whole COVID and everything, because right now in college and stuff, you're getting the seniors extra year eligibility with the whole COVID-19 stuff. So the scholarships you get now for like my class right now and stuff, you probably won't get because we got seniors in colleges going back for another year and stuff. So the recruiting process with me, I'm enjoying it right now and stuff. I'm just riding, seeing how things go and everything and stuff. I'm just humble and everything. I know wherever God got for me and stuff, I'm just grateful for the opportunity to play for the next level.
For sure. And I know we're in the off season right now, but looking into your senior year, what are some goals you have for yourself, either on the field or off the field?
One of my goals senior year and stuff is definitely winning a state championship. That's one of my goals I have when I first came to high school, stuff, getting the state ring and stuff, and continue being a great person in the school, throughout the classroom and off school and everything and stuff. Trying to be inspiration to younger kids and stuff and everything. Making sure that not only not sports, but be book smart and everything. So if education will take you farther in life than not having one and everything.
Awesome. And then as an athlete, as a player on the field, just describe yourself, describe your game.
My game and describing myself, I say I'm a competitor and a warrior and stuff. I think my coach would just tell you and tell a lot of people and stuff, if I get injured or something, I'm out there still competing and everything. They got to drive me off the field or tell me, Chris, sit out and play and stuff. Even when I do cramp up and everything, and I just love playing football and competing and everything. Like, doesn't matter what sport, classroom, Kahoot, it doesn't matter. I just love to win and everything. So
yeah,
being a competitor and stuff.
Awesome. And I'll throw this in there into the questions. Like to get to know our athletes just as people off of the field, off of the game. What do you like to do in your free time?
Free time, hanging out with friends and stuff, and golfing.
Awesome.
Again, Christopher Allen, class of 2022 football, Wake Forest High School, high in recruitment. Thank you so much for joining.
No problem. Thank you again.
Hey, great job, Chelsea. And I love the questions. I love the way you kind of line them up and get them in there to him. So good job with that. You know, we was talking about the growth of Kenzie. I'm the lucky one. I've already got to see you grow a ton this past year. And now to have you here on the big stage is pretty awesome. You got one thing right heading into it. You know, Wake Forest is definitely not Raleigh. It's certainly way outside of Raleigh. It's going to get bumped in there. But, man, I think Wake County football is going to be having a huge fall coming up with Rollsville obviously being really senior heavy. But I think this Wake Forest team is going to be back, and he's certainly going to be a part of it. So a great job.
Thank you.
All right. I see we got our two coach versus coach participants down here at the bottom. We got a big we might as well just get back into Thunderdome because Griner, he's kind of ticked off.
Look at his wounds over there.
Yeah, speaking of Thor earlier, I feel like I need a hammer in this beast.
All right, here we are in the Thunderdome, coach versus coach. Griner, I'm going to let you go first just because I know you kind of been pouting there in the back room after getting manhandled.
Let's just get it straight right now. The first three questions, I got 2 of the 3 right, and he had them all right. Like he was blowing. And the one question about the milk, come on, no, that's a hormone.
It does the body good. That should have been the easy one. And even I would have picked Sundrop on that one.
I know. I would have chose Sundrop over milk.
For the record, I would have picked Sweet Tea as well. But anyway, here we are.
Back the hush. It dog. Nobody says flowering. Like if they see that tree, they don't say flowering dogwood. They just say dogwood. They should have just had another question for D and just kept the dogwood. Everybody knows it's dog. No one says flowering dogwood.
No, I agree. The Griner, we're going to let you go first today just so you can blow off some steam and so you can get the first crack at it. So here we go, coach versus coach, round 1. Who has a worse transfer problem, high school or the NCAA, and how is it fixed?
It's definitely high school. It's not even close. NCAA, if you're doing well at a college, you're not going to leave that college more than likely. Like you're going to stay there. If you can't play, then that's when you leave. These kids are not leaving because they can't play in high school. They're just trying to join a team to get recognized. They think their parents are so involved sometimes that they think their parents got to make a decision for them where it can really hurt a kid. Say you've been somewhere for 3 years and all of a sudden you go somewhere for just your senior year. A lot of the college coaches that were trying to follow you, they don't know where you're at anymore. And all of a sudden that those relationships, unless you're just a big time D1 guy, you know, they don't know where you're at. You know, like you're a guy that's like a Division II type guy, you know, and all of a sudden you're going to another school. It kills you. It really does. It kills the relationships, does a lot of bad things. And I just wish that we did a better job. You know, I might get myself in trouble here. Oh, shoot.
I'm about to say, do we need a disclaimer? We need a written disclaimer to go in with the Griner.
We need to figure something out I just wish everybody took pride in where they lived. If everybody just took pride in where they lived, everything would be great. It would be great football. We would see different things happening. Appreciate the street you grew up on. Oh, I'm representing this school. Don't look. Make a difference. Be the guy that makes the difference. Don't go join something. It's a joke.
Yeah, I would say pre-COVID, I'd have been right there with you. I do think with the NCAA actually stepping in and putting legislation, granting kids an extra year in college, it's created a crazy logjam where you see the transfer portal was been, you know, with kids in there like never before. Even out there when I visited you guys with the QC Bowl, I heard a couple kids, you know, kind of lamenting the COVID's effect on their recruitment, you know, discussing that they were going to go to a school and then transfer later. And I mean, honestly, you have to give kind of that, be careful. And make sure they're not putting themselves in a bad situation. The transfer portal is overloaded with talent, and I think it's a situation where you're really seeing kids lose out as a result. High school does have some issues around here that do need to be fixed, but you're seeing with the NCAA that you're finding some kids in really bad situations and putting themselves into worse situations by trying to transfer and go somewhere else. So now, I mean, COVID has really done a number and really made it tough for the NCAA.
You know, guys, I haven't coached in about a decade, so I'm not as fresh in it as you two are. And I'll let either one of you take a crack at this. But how has the portal, both with high school the way it is with transferring, but especially in the college ranks, and I could really see this. You see it on TV, you see it in the numbers. How does it affect you as a coach being able to coach kids? Because I've seen a lot of kids where, they'll just get ticked off the coach, because it's coaching him too hard and up and want to leave. And I know both of you guys want to kind of dig into a player because that's the only way you're truly going to get better when you push them to the edge. How do you coach a kid without him just wanting to pull up strings and go?
I mean, I can start. I mean, I think the bigger thing is that, I'm going to be who I am. I think I've gotten as far as I have now by being who I am. I don't think it's a question that I'm for, the advancement of kids, no matter if you even play for me or for anyone else. So I think my reputation and my intent stands on that. And there's a long track record there. I don't do anything to demean or disrespect anyone. And everything that I do, I have the goal of ensuring that someone understands what I'm doing and kind of the purpose for it. If a kid wants to leave, it's not going to be the fact of the last conversation you had being the final straw. That's what we're seeing a lot of times where kids are utilizing, scapegoats and straw man arguments as it relates to, oh, well, this is the reason why I'm leaving, when there are other underlying things that if you say that in public, we have people look at you differently. So I'm going to be me. I'm going to coach, the way I am, but I also want to make sure I'm building something that kids want to be a part of. So that's kind of my mentality as it relates to it. If kids are going to leave, kids are going to leave, but kids are also going to come because they respect what you're doing.
I agree totally with what Grice just said. I mean, you're going to be who you are. And I found out the hard way a couple of times where if I can't be myself, I'm not very effective. And you got to have someone to appreciate who you are. And then you got to have people that are buying into what you're trying to do if you're leading a program. And sometimes it's very difficult for people to see the future. A lot of times kids, they're playing checkers and we're trying to play chess. And they can't see the moves ahead. They can't see the process that it takes to get there. And then all of a sudden, they go home. All of a sudden, a kid might catch 2 touchdown passes and had 6 catches one game. And then all of a sudden they had 1 catch the next game. And all of a sudden they're thinking about parents are getting involved. They're thinking, we got to go somewhere else, get a better opportunity. The colleges will find you. I promise you that. You're not going to get a better look at if you go to another school that's going to compete in the state championship guaranteed or something of that nature. It doesn't work that way. If you're talented, they will find you. And a lot of times there's a lot of talented players that are playing on teams that don't get to play. So I don't know how you're going to I don't know how in the world you think it's going to help you out when you're the 5th or 6th option. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it.
Yeah. Great analogy, by the way, Coach. I always love the checkers versus chess. It sounds so simple, but it's really true. So great job. Let's go to round number 2 now, and coach versus coach. Coach Grice, you'll be first up on this one right here. Many high school athletes are participating in camps that are promoted via social media. Is this a new form of free agency for high school athletes? How effective is social media for scholarships?
Yeah, I think this question relates very well with the first one. I mean, I think social media and, what we kind of talk about with when we played, versus now, social media brings everybody closer. I mean, you have people, down east that are aware of things that are going on in Charlotte. Yeah, that's why you see a lot of times, when people transfer in, they're coming from 2 or 3 hours away just from what they've seen, from a program on social media. As it relates to players, I think you're starting to see, especially you look at some of these camps and some of these names that you're seeing, even recently, some of the names you see winning these camp MVPs are traditional names that I've seen, whether it be on this show, guys have been highlighted, whether it's on other shows, whether it's through videos on social media that they or someone else have posted. They do a great job in kind of getting that mindset and saying, hey, this kid's always doing this or doing that. My social media, thought of him is that he's this type of player. And if I'm a college coach, especially with the limited access to these kids, person to person, if I'm continually seeing this messaging through all these camps and all this, social media, I'm going to probably offer this kid because of that, or at least it's going to lean in that way. So I do think it's a new way to help these kids really get offers and help to get them, positively thought of, amongst a lot of these colleges. So another positive that's kind of come out of COVID and the extended quarantine.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with Grice, what he just said there. The one thing I would like to highlight with it is that, college coaches, they're not – the only thing that social media does really is they get to find out a little bit more who you are before they offer you a scholarship, because they're going to be in a room with you 24/7 pretty much through the course of your 4 to 5 years in college. So, you know, what you put on social media is very, very effective to where you're going to go. Like, for an example, I like Clemson. I know they really pay attention to things like that. You got a guy cursing left and right on Instagram, or he's posting up middle fingers or whatever the case would be. Like, they ain't for that. You could be the best player in the country. They'll go to the next guy, you know. So it's very important that they keep it clean. And the social media, you know, I think it's pretty cool. Hey, I'm going to this camp. It raises awareness for all the camps. Everybody that's running camps right now, they're going to have better camps. They're having better turnouts because kids want to get out and they want to promote themselves. And what's wrong with that? I think it's the first time that we're able to see high school athletes be promoted and people know who they are. Like you said, Raleigh kids know about Charlotte kids and vice versa. I think that's very important.
Yeah, great point, Tim. And to take that one step further, I know you talked about what you post on social media, but, you know, they dig really deep. If you like the wrong content, you know, you like something that is perceived as racist or offensive or anything of the nature, you know, that's going to hurt you as well. So, you know, I hate that we almost have to become sterile to get these jobs, but, you know, it is what it is. It's just like a job application in the real world. But great points by both of you. I agree. Let's go here to round number 3. We're going to stick with you on this one, Coach Griner. Coach versus coach. Should coaches be allowed to 7-on-7 tournaments like college basketball coaches at travel ball events? You're up, Griner.
Yeah, I think that any time that they can be evaluated, the college coaches should be allowed to come, not if they're, you know, their son's playing in the event. That's the only way they're able to come to these certain type of camps or 7-on-7 tournaments. But if you're allowed to do it, and like basketball coaches, I think baseball as well has the same type of deal. Whenever they're doing like travel ball or something, it's not necessarily a high school season, they can come check it out. I just think that if we are having a 7-on-7 tournament, why can't they come there and check it out? All it's going to do is get more exposure for you. It's not like they're going to be like, give a scholarship that don't be deserved to someone. You know, they're going to earn it still. So 7-on-7 is still football. The way the game is progressing, especially as many as like people like Grice get jobs everywhere, like air raiding. I mean, that's all we're talking about. So it's definitely it's you gotta do something better for the college coaches to get a little bit more the kids to get more exposure from now.
Chris, this is like him playing 4 corners and coach versus coach here. It's like he feels like he had the lead and he's sitting here playing 4 corners going in a direction that I would talk. Like, that's ridiculous, Griner. You know you don't think like that. Look at you. I'll take a different angle here since you're playing 4 corners. I do like coaches being allowed at 7-on-7 tournaments, and even I like it for, you know, them being allowed for 7-on-7 club tournaments. One big thing I remember as a kid, and the bigger thing for me is the unseen talent aspect. You know, you have, you know, some of these receivers that play on heavy running teams that don't get the opportunity to show their, you know, to show what they could do. I'll never forget going to a Stars practice and watching this kid who they literally called Route Tree because he had every single route in his arsenal. But the problem why he was so under-recruited, he played for a team that ran the ball 85% of the time. You know, even if he's playing 7-on-7 with his, you know, his school team, you're never seeing the capability of what he could do. Put him on a club team, you're able to see that he's able to shine with some of these D1 guys that we've talked about here in the last 2 to 3 years. Next thing you know, he gets an offer and he's able to go be successful, thankfully, off of some of the highlights that show what he can do. So to me, it's absolutely vital when we talk about some of these under-recruited areas and under-recruited kids to get these college coaches out to these 7-on-7 tournaments. And again, I think partly of this, and I'm sure Langston can talk about it from the basketball side. Yeah, college coaches out there. I bet you some of these kids would act right and wouldn't do some of the foolishness that we see on videos.
Yeah,
games. Yeah, to me, it would clean up a lot of the riffraff and a lot of the mess. So I'm absolutely supportive of all that.
Yeah, like a kid catching a ball over another kid and like showing off for it. Yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing. Just get excited with your teammates. Don't disrespect somebody. I don't know, man. It's so big on social media. That's the only bad thing for it right now. But like you said, college coaches coming in, they, you know, you got Nick Saban the ball. Nick Saban hanging out at the Blazing 7-on-7 or something, and you know they ain't gonna be acting like that.
Yeah, I will say one thing, Grice. You may have changed this old dog to learn a new trick. You know, I've not always been the biggest supporter of 7-on-7s. Of course, you know, I did it as a coach, you know, will continue to. But you made a point that I don't think I ever saw or thought of in my 20-plus years of being around football of a running team using a 7-on-7 to showcase their receivers. That's brilliant. I never thought of it in that aspect. I feel stupid now that I didn't think of it that way. But great point.
Wow. Chris said something positive about 7-on-7. We need to put that on a T-shirt or something.
No, I don't think it's football. Don't get me wrong.
It's still fake football. It's fake football.
Classroom lab.
But it does have a place.
But Sam, you threw me with the 8 Mile strategy right there, saying all the things that your opponent would say, little Eminem rabbit strategy. Bunny Rabbit, yeah, absolutely. Kenzie's like, who's Bunny Rabbit? I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. All right, this is our last segment with Kenzie. This is the last segment with Kenzie. This is crazy. So, Sam, you know what? I'm gonna put you in. I'm gonna put you in this segment, Sam, because the questions are appropriate.
Okay.
Here we go.
If you didn't put him in, he'd be in the chat. Put me in.
Yeah, he'd be in the chat. I'm not Alex. I don't have Alex's vocabulary, but I will ask the questions. First, biggest Heisman bust, Kenzie. Robert Griffin III, Marcus Mariota, Matt Leinart, Johnny Manziel, or Tim Tebow?
I'm not going to have to pontificate on this, but I think it's by far Johnny Manziel. Johnny Football didn't live up to his name. He ain't got no money no more. He's just,
he got some money.
He busted in every way possible.
All right, Chelsea, who you got?
No, I think Kenzie worded it well.
Literally.
I'm going to go with Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel. Damn.
I got to say something interesting. Matt was born in 1983, the year of the draft, but he didn't bust. It's between the last two, and I've got to say Johnny Manziel because, in all honesty, while Tebow ain't playing and he may play, and did I read Manziel may come back? I don't think Tebow's going to make it either. But Manziel really busted. I mean, he busted from the get-go. He was busted, I think. So, yeah, that's I'd like to crack on Tebow, but I just can't do it on this one.
All right, Gary, who you got?
I'm not gonna be a contrarian. It's Johnny Manziel. At least Tim Tebow did lead a team to the playoffs and won a playoff game.
Played very well.
Yeah.
He was the talk of the NFL. For that year, he was
facing the defense, Sam. He was facing
the defense.
Yeah. When he can face it and ride and make that safety move and come out like that, then he's
Chelsea. Sam is the biggest Tim Tebow fan in the world. And he spent the last month telling us why Tim Tebow is so great. He said Tim Tebow, if he can face the defense, he's just incredible. And so long as he can face the defense.
That's all. When I say face, that means the game has changed. And the shotgun, when his chest is showing to the defense and not turning his back.
Now his chest is showing to the defense.
That's
This is when you're under center. Let me just.
I don't want to see your backside, Sam.
You're under center. Boom. This is not good for Tebow. Like this. Facing the defense, you got to put an extra defender in there.
All right. Well, who's going on this list? I know it's not Tebow. So
Matt. All right. Matt Leinart is. Everybody thought when he came out, their team was so great. He was garbage.
There's been a lot of Southern Cal quarterbacks that have come out, including the one the Panthers got.
I think it's between him and Johnny Manziel for sure. Johnny Manziel was such a high pick. Wasn't he number one or like?
Yeah, he was number one pick in Cleveland.
Number one pick. So, I mean, you say he's the biggest bust. Or the one, he didn't win the Heisman, though. The biggest bust ever was probably like Jamarcus Russell or something like that. I
can't say Tim Tebow was a bust because he did have He's played 2 pro sports.
Coming back.
He made the AAA All-Star team, a AA All-Star team, whatever he's on. And now he's back again for a second cup of coffee in the league. So I'd have to go with Johnny Manziel. As much as I want to say Tebow, I'd have to go with Manziel.
Mm-hmm.
So you get away on that question. All right. Dale, most annoying sports fans, Boston fans in any sport, New York fans in any sport, Philadelphia fans in any sport, Chicago fans, or Tim Tebow fans?
So, I worked many years for a large corporation, and thus we had people all over, and I had to deal with people from Boston first.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Boston, and unfortunately they're good in most things.
Yes.
So that just made it horrible. And New York kind of the same way, but I think Boston fans are more annoying than New York fans, just from my experience.
Okay.
Philadelphia fans, not so much, except for here in Charlotte.
Philadelphia booed Santa Claus.
Yeah, but
They also threw things at him.
Yes, they did. They threw things at Pat
Imagine being
McCoy.
that mean to Santa.
We had Pat McCoy on the show. Pat McCoy, friend of the show. They threw things at Pat McCoy. Had a 33 jersey on when the Panthers were up there in the playoff game.
I just find Philadelphia fans only to be annoying, to me at least, here in Charlotte.
Okay, all right.
But without question, I don't think it's even close. Tebow fans.
Tebow fans.
Don't we have evidence of that on here?
And drunk, man. Don't be coming on this show.
Yeah, hold on, Sam. You have your turn. This is his moment. He said Tebow fans have to go. Chelsea, what do you got?
So I'm a really big NBA fan. I'm a Celtics fan. And 2 years ago, I went to Boston versus Lakers. And it was in TD Garden. And gosh, those fans were something, being from Boston. But that same year, went to Philadelphia, saw Celtics versus Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And the Philadelphia fans were something. But between the two, gosh, Boston fans were just chanting things. You'd see them in the streets and stuff. Gosh, they were brutal. So I'm going to go with Boston fans.
Boston fans. Kenzie.
But I'm a Celtics fan.
Oh, sorry.
Me, this is not even a question. I grew up a Cowboys fan, so we automatically hate Philadelphia Eagles in every single aspect. They threw things at Santa. You're just horrible people. You yell things at Troy Aikman. Just jerks. But then let's also talk about, you got Bryce Harper. That means you can't like the Phillies anymore. I mean, because no one likes Bryce Harper, so it means you can't like the Phillies, and they're all a little high on Bryce Harper. He ain't done nothing this season. And then they got a basketball team or something. They don't do nothing. They're all high on Philadelphia 76ers. They don't do anything either. So they all have this high up expectations, and then they just suck at everything year in and year out. So, they're passionate about nothing.
So, Philadelphia fans are hiding. I love that argument. Gary.
Yeah, good argument.
What got me thinking about this question is how the Knicks fans have just come out of the woodworks that the New York Knicks have finally made it to the playoffs for the first time in 8 years.
Yeah.
And they talk about the Knicks like they can't understand why free agents don't want to go there and all the rich tradition. And they haven't won a title since 1973. Okay.
Did you hear all of that? Did you hear 1973? Tell me the date.
And then the Boston fans, they go over the edge a little bit. A lot of their
not tonight. They're down 25 with a minute.
Yeah, but they can be kind of racist in some of their critiques. And I think that kind of crosses the line. And then, like Kenzie said, Philly fans, they've won what? One NBA title, one NFL title. I don't know about the Phillies, how many they've won. But every time the Eagles come to Charlotte, they drive me crazy with that song, Fly, Eagles, Fly. I mean, they just do not let up. Fly, and they fight a lot. And so I like going to see the Eagles.
Steelers fans fight a lot too, though.
Yeah, you're going to see a fight if the Eagles are in town. In fact, in their old stadium, they actually had a jail
Oh, yeah. They have one in the new stadium at the bottom.
Yeah, they have a jail in their stadium.
Yes, they do. In the new stadium, they have a jail in there. Yeah.
I think any sports fans that got to have a jail in the stadium got to be the worst. So Philly fans.
Sam, I'm gonna put your friend Karen has got. She said you got to pull for Philly because they got Devonta Smith. Who you think?
My son loves Philly, so I'm gonna root for Philly. Even though they throw batteries and stuff, I'm still rooting for them. The answer is this. It doesn't say get rid of one of these. It says most annoying sports fans.
Yes.
The true answer is the Dallas Cowboys, and they're not on the list. So let me explain.
Well, Gary would not put Dallas on the list. I mean, Gary wrote the question. He's not going to put Dallas on the list.
Dallas, well, I'm adding it to the list. Okay, Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, you can start a show, man. You do what you want.
They're the most annoying fans in the entire world. I mean, think about it. Like Gary, he think he know everything. He literally does. Kind of.
No. You think I know everything. I don't think I know everything.
But like, when has the Cowboys been good? And forever, they're terrible. But they swear they're
going to the Super Bowl every August, man.
So like the most annoying fans
they're going to the Super Bowl. It's our year. It's our year. Big diamonds.
Got 5 rings.
You haven't been relevant.
Dusty.
You haven't been relevant for 30 years.
But who's your answer?
Yes,
man. I said
that's his answer.
Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys.
And Karen agrees with me. Yes, to that.
Yeah, see, Karen's with me on it. Yeah.
Karen's with me. I think you pay off Karen. She's always with you. Chelsea most likely to underachieve in the NBA playoffs. Paul Playoff P hit the side of the backboard George. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Paul, who has one arm, and James Harden.
Gosh, James Harden.
James Harden at Chelsea, they just won 130 to 105. But okay.
I mean, I think Houston's has had so many talented teams, so many opportunities. And, James Harden led them in that, but never led them far enough.
I hope you're right because I'm a Laker fan. Kenzie, what you got?
Ooh. I got to go Giannis or Giannis. Giannis. So I always mess up his name. That's on me. I feel like last year there was so much hype around this, Milwaukee team, and they just didn't perform at all. He didn't perform at all. The team didn't perform at all. And it was so disappointing because he had set such a high expectation of play. I think James Harden and them, they kind of would suffer in the normal regular season. Giannis didn't, and he just decided not to show up for the playoffs, and I think that's most likely to underachieve.
All right. Dale, looking intently at the question.
Yeah, you know who didn't show up for the playoffs?
Who?
Tim Tebow.
He won a playoff game. You can't say that.
No. He did not. He's not showing up in NBA playoffs.
Don't count him out.
Stick to the context of the question here.
All right, what you got there?
This is a tough one here for me. And,
all right.
I really like Chris Paul.
Yes,
but
he's hurt right now though.
But I'm going to have to put Chris Paul as my guy. Yeah, for this, it's going. It depends on where you set your underachieve at, right? If you count the injury. Maybe not, but yeah, that's my pick.
Okay, Gary.
I'm kind of thinking like Dale. Chris Paul is probably the second best leader in the NBA after LeBron, and he just hits bad luck. Every year in the playoffs,
he gets hurt,
breaks, pulls a hamstring. That's a pinched nerve. I mean, he just has the worst luck. Giannis. He's a front runner, I think. He's okay as long as they got a big lead. But when the game gets close, he really doesn't want the ball because he doesn't want to go to the free throw line.
And he doesn't want to shoot a jump shot.
No, and he can't. And James Harden, I think he's going to be insulated this year because, I think things don't go right, they're gonna blame Kyrie because Kyrie's so strange.
The world is flat.
Yeah, and burning sage and everything else. So I'm gonna go with playoff P, because anybody that calls themselves playoff P and then doesn't show up for the playoffs,
it hits the side of the back
underachiever.
That's a good point.
I'm
All right, Sam.
100% with Gary here. Playoff P is definitely going to underachieve the most. It's hard to like not root for Chris Paul. He's such a overachiever throughout his whole career. So like, I can't say he's an underachiever at all. He's probably he should be like most likely to overachieve. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, maybe not necessarily playoffs, but like in his career. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely playoff P. He's not even like relevant. He's never been relevant in the playoffs ever.
All right. In honor of Kenzie's final show, and since we're almost at the end of it, I'm not going to call it final thoughts. We're going to call it Kenzie's thoughts. Just whatever's on your mind, you want to tell the folks.
First of all, I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in to watch me each week. It means the world to me. I mean, the fact that you've given me this opportunity. To all the guys out there on the panel, thank you for taking me in, bringing me in. I know I didn't exactly fit the mold. I know I don't know what TV or music you're talking about. Thank you guys for explaining that to me. I really appreciate it. Keeping me up to speed on the old school things. Thank you to every single athlete who agreed to do an interview. When it started out, it was a little slow. Like Dale said, got a lot of no's. So every single one of those yeses means the world to me because I know what it feels like to get a no. Thank you to Alyssa, obviously a big inspiration who made one of my dreams come true. Most importantly, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This has been, an opportunity of a lifetime and something that a lot of people never get to do. And to get to be able to do it so young, I'm so thankful.
Well, it's been my honor to have you on the show. Absolutely, for sure. Chris, what do you think?
I'm gonna miss her cursing. She
yeah, you owe me some money, my friend. You definitely owe me some money, my friend.
I was gonna mention it to Liz, her mother. Like, hey, you've heard her curse a few times on here.
Yeah.
Record. She holds the
record.
You
guys are gonna get me in trouble.
Chris, what do you think about Miss Kenzie?
Well, first time I saw her was when her and Coop came rolling up there to the A.O. Brown tennis court to view Wimbledon, the grudge match between Sam and I. And she will be back, by the way, to see the second one. I live on some tennis courts now, so I'm going to be practicing. I'm going to teach my son how to play. But no, she's been amazing. I love that she's willing to say what she feels anytime. She's not scared of consequences or whatever. She feels that she says it, and I think that's a great quality to have, especially to be an aspiring journalist. She's not afraid of the tough questions, and I think that's something we can all take from her.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to sign off as usual. We're going to put Sam in the one shot and hope this is the last one shot, Sam, until August. So make sure you don't get yourself in trouble before we get to August.
I thought I was giving my time up to Kenzie, so I wasn't really prepared for nothing. But just want to say thank you, Kenzie. I know that we'll see you again in the future, and looking forward to watching your career. But you've done a lot of special things on the show, and I appreciate everything you do. And I appreciate everybody that's on our show. Not many people know all the time and effort that we put in on this, and we do it for the benefit of student athletes in high school. We try to do everything we can to support them, and all these guys on the panel and ladies, they do a phenomenal job. They really do. I'm the weakest one in this whole panel, and they're phenomenal. All you guys do a great job.
I tell you, Sam and I started this show, I think it was 3 years ago. Sam used to come outside. He was at a different high school. He would come outside and stand against a brick wall in the wind. And we were trying to do it on Instagram Live. It looked awful, and I was trying to tape it. And then we went to Zoom. Now we're on StreamYard. It's gotten so much better having these guys on. They came on. I mean, they volunteer. We don't pay them. They came on through the pandemic. We aired an episode every week through the pandemic from, like, I don't know, almost a whole year's worth, and just coming up with things to talk about and people to interview, and we had a really good time. Okay, so Gary wanted everybody to recommend a book before we go, and so we're gonna go around. Dale, what was your book you wanted to recommend for people to read during the off season?
So mine is Newt Rockney. It's a book released in 1970, written by George Sullivan. It was written for probably an elementary level of read, but I read it then. I would recommend any young person to read it. If you don't know who Newt Rockney was, you may have heard of the Gipper, but I just want to say real quickly, Newt Rockney, Sam made something about make a difference. And Newt Rockney was an individual that didn't play football in high school till his senior year because he was too small. He after high school, he worked. He didn't go to college. Then he decided to go to Illinois to play football because Illinois was more known for football. His buddies said, let's go to Notre Dame. His comment, and you'll learn these things in the book, his comment was, well, they ain't never won a game. He goes to Notre Dame. He makes a difference. They started winning. He was a fleet-footed receiver. Grice would have loved him. Fleet-footed meant athletic and fast. But to read this book, you'll learn so many different things about how life can throw different things at you, or you can have different paths that you look at. But stick to your goals and you'll reach them. I think it's a wonderful book that if an adult hasn't read it, you should read it.
All right, my book is we had Chris Meadows on the basketball show. It's called I Am D1. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's aimed at basketball folks, but there's a lot of good tips in here for people in any sport. A lot of common sense things, but I'm about halfway through it. Really good. It's a really quick read, really good read. I would definitely suggest that. Does anybody else have any more suggestions before we get out?
I do.
Gary has one?
I got a book in front of me.
My book is Saban, and one of the things that being on the show for the last year has allowed me to do is meet a new generation of coaches. Coaches that, may be 10, 15, 20 years younger than I am. And I can remember back, when I got started in coaching. And this book, Saban, gives a history of his coaching experience, but it also tells you how to get the best out of what you have. And, it's a lot of coaches will use the word process, but there really is a process to being a successful coach. It doesn't mean that you win championships. It means that you get the most out of your staff, out of your players, out of everything you do in life. And I think it's more about life lessons just as much as it is coaching lessons. And, Saban is probably will go down as the most successful college football coach of all time. And he didn't even coach Tim Tebow. And
he tried to hold it. He couldn't even hold it. Look at him. He's proud of himself.
But it really is an interesting read for young coaches as well as for young athletes about the steps that are necessary to be successful in life, not just in sports.
All right, Chelsea, what you got?
I've actually got this book in front of me. It is Kobe Bryant, Mamba Mentality. And it's like a Wikipedia of, Kobe's, whole basketball career. But there's so many, I think, good lessons in there about investing in yourself, setting goals, just hard work, everything that I think could fall under, what Kobe believed was the Mamba mentality. So some hidden lessons in there.
All right. Chris, you said you got one.
I do. I read this first one 20 years ago. It's a friend of our show, been on here a couple times, Coach Mac Brown. One Heartbeat. It's a great philosophy of bringing insight into both professional, personal development as well as coaching development. I think it came out in 2001. It really tells a good behind the scenes story as well as of his transition from UNC to Texas the first time, and then the second one is his book that followed that up when he won his first national championship, One Heartbeat 2. Great insight. I mean, we've had Coach Brown on the show many times, and he's so well spoken, and you can tell he's in such deep thought, and he comes across very well. When you read the books, it kind of gives a little bit of reading between the pages to understand how he's the way he is and how he got there. So it's a great read. I've read them both, I think, twice. So I recommend it to anyone.
Kenzie.
No, I don't have a sports book, but the all-time legend of the book, To Kill a Mockingbird, which I think has so many lessons for everybody. It taught me a lot about how to not judge people, and walk a mile in their shoes before you make any assumptions. So, it's one everyone should read, which I've recently found out they don't read in North Carolina. So
they don't read that anymore. We had to read that.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I came here in ninth grade. They're like, To Kill a Mockingbird. What is that?
We had to read that in school. All right, guys. It's been a great year. Man, Sam, what you got?
Yeah, the only book that matters, brother. The book of life. The sword, the double-edged sword.
The Bible.
If you read any book, this is the only book that matters. And
It said NFL on the front. That's why I didn't know what you were talking about.
Newfound life.
Okay.
Yeah. It's my. It got like my mom got me that. She's got a thing. But like I had to bring this out, especially after Gary. I thought he said Satan instead of Saban.
You're not going that far. Wait a minute.
Wow. It's been a great year, guys. We've had some incredible guests on the show. We've had big-time college coaches. We've had politicians. We had a presidential candidate on the show.
Yeah.
It's been a great run. I really thank you guys for coming on. Kenzie, I really have enjoyed you. Dale was really pushing me to add. He and I were talking, and it's like he said, it was just like perfect harmony that you text me, because we were just talking about we need to find a high school kid or kids to come onto the show. And I hate Chelsea. Well, here she comes back. But to find Chelsea, because Chris has suggested Chelsea come on the show. So I think she's going to follow in your footsteps, and we'll just keep it rolling next year. But we're going to be back. We're talking preps in August, I think it'll be, and we'll have all the crew. Alex will be back with all of his dictionary of words that he has, and we'll get Kenzie to broadcast live from the Tennessee dorm sometime. So we'll have a good time. So it should be a fun season, and hopefully we'll have a regular kind of sports season next year as well. So yeah, here's hoping.
Also need to update Chris and Chelsea's Wi-Fi by
well, Chelsea's house will be done by the fall, so she'll be good on Wi-Fi. All right, I'm Langston. That's Sam. That's Gary. That's Dale. That's Chelsea. That's Chris, the guru, the best football mind in North Carolina. That's Jonathan Christ. That's Miss Kenzie. Kenzie, love you. We catch you in Tennessee. We are Talking Preps. See you later.